Welcome to the Happiness and Success After Illinois Tech podcast with the Illinois Tech alumni. We're so happy you're here, and we can't wait for you to be inspired from all these real-life stories of people that attended Illinois Tech, graduated, and found success. No matter your major, your background, or where you're from, success and happiness are possible, and here are the stories to prove it. Welcome to this episode, everyone. My guest this week is Alzira Maldonado, practitioner. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so good to see you. So tell everyone when you graduated from Illinois Tech and what you studied and what you do now.
I graduated from IIT on 2014. I went to do my Master's of Architecture there for 2 years in the College of Architecture. And I'm a senior designer architect at EXP right now. I still live in Chicago, so I'm still local to the school.
That's awesome. So when you got into college, did you know what you wanted to study right away? And or did it change while you were there?
I went there for my master's, so I knew that's what I wanted to do. I have a bachelor's in architecture as well. Okay. And when I went to grad school, I really wanted to somehow keep like studying, right? Still like keep exploring and maybe try different things in my approaches or in my study. My bachelor's is from Colombia, so I actually moved to the States, to Chicago, to come to IIT. So I think one of the things that I thought I was going to be doing was like high rises, like you're moving to Chicago, you're going to be doing high rises. I never got to do that, but I do not regret it.
No. So what did you, so you knew you wanted to, obviously get this graduate degree in architecture. Did you, once you were studying it, where you're like, all right, did you find was anything surprising when you were getting your master's at Illinois Tech about the topics you were studying, or was it just like, this is what you're going to do and then you're going to go get a job?
So many of the projects that we were focused on were all about project work or like big projects in a city. And one of those projects that I got to work on was a border control between the States and Canada in Minnesota. And that was a really different type of project that I've never done before. And that it was to like the ideal and the philosophy that you had to put into the work and the project was really interesting, and more when I was an immigrant coming into the States and then now working into a building that it will give others like that welcomeness and that security that you have to project to people when they're like crossing a border. That was like really interesting to me. That type of like public work. I like the public, and I've done it before when I was in undergrad and back home when I was working. But this was somehow different.
That's so cool. It's so fascinating to me, which is why I love working with college students, what they end up studying and learning. And just like the example you just gave, like that there's some company that got hired to build something on a border so that people come into our country and feel welcome. Like that concept never even crossed my mind. But that's what's just so fascinating about how things get built, and like you said, the ideas and philosophy behind them, not just the actual engineering piece or the mechanical or math piece of it, like all the other things you need to consider. And that's the kind of stuff that's, I think, really fascinating, and that college students don't even realize that they're going to be doing later. It's like, you're studying all this stuff now so you can do all these really cool things later. And who knows what that could be.
Well, when that was, we actually got to select the studio. So we had a couple projects that we could select to. So the professors would explain the project and will basically put their case on like what was the project and the case that we would be going to be working through the semester. And this one was like the most different one. It was like, what is this even? Like, right? Like I was every single time I've come here is like to like an airport. So you imagine an airport and things that you like feel, and you were kind of a little bit related to that. I've never done one where I've never crossed like in a car or something different where it's like a little bit more pedestrian, that you have to have like that feeling of passing through. I don't know. It was different and it was interesting, and absolutely like that's the studio I ended up picking, and ended up working a little bit in something like that. Yeah.
That's so cool. That's so cool. how did you get your first job or internship? Did you have an internship, number one? And if you did, how did you get it? And then how did you get into this company that you're in now? What was that process?
So I started looking for internships in my second year. And one of the firms that I started looking into is the firm when my professor for this border control was at. So I applied there for an internship and did an internship. And after my internship, I basically in my second year did part-time there too. And after graduation, I got a full-time job.
At the
And I've
same place.
been here for, it's gonna be 10 years later this year. Yeah,
So
a
did you
long
got a
time.
full-time job? You had an offer at the same company you did your internship at when
Yeah,
you're working? Okay.
I did.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart. That's like the coup de grace, they say, like getting an internship and then staying there. But I tell students too, if you don't, you just got a new experience. That's okay if you don't get an offer there. You might not even want to get an offer there, but you could get one and then also reject it and get it, go to a different place. But it's best, and it's one of the reasons why companies hire interns is so they can eventually maybe offer them something at the company. But you just don't, you never know what the path's going to be. So you just have to do it and then expect the best. And if it doesn't happen, there's probably a good reason for it. So that's cool. So
Well,
you had,
and you're never gonna know until you try it, right? There's many preconceptions of many offices or many firms, or like they did this or didn't do that, or I don't want to do this type of work or the other. But I think once you actually try it, the possibilities are many. And it
yes.
is not always like the same thing about like asking like what you want to do and things that you are not sure about. But if you get to explore, then you're absolutely sure you don't want to, or actually like, I maybe like this. So
Yeah, that's the
it's a,
whole point. Yeah, that's a really good point. You have to explore, otherwise, or sometimes you think you know exactly what you want, and then you go do it. That happened to me. And I'm like, oh no, I don't like this at all. And then you're like, but that's okay because it's information. It's not a failure. It's
yeah,
just information. I was wrong. I misread whatever it was. Now that I know more, I'm going to make a different decision. And so there's never really any failure. It's just like more information is kind of how I like to think about it.
yep. And you get to learn. So it's an experience that you just get to learn from it at the end of
Yes,
the day.
totally. You get to
Yeah.
learn. You learn something new, or you met new people, or something good came out of it for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So is there so now you're doing the work you love. And do you see yourself doing this kind of work or for a long time? Do you see yourself kind of learning more new things or subjects inside the work you're doing now? What's that going to be like, you think?
I like what I do. I love what I work, the type of work that I'm working on. I see myself doing the same type of projects. So we do a lot of like transportation, so CTA stations for Chicago, or other transit stations for other cities. Uh, Done work with GSAs, federal buildings, and a little bit of higher education too. I do like the type of work and the impact that it creates in the community.
Yeah.
I just see myself doing other projects and exploring more. I'm not saying you never know. Always kind of driven to projects that are like a little bit more community driven, or that
Yeah.
the impact that creates elevates that community and the users too.
I love
So
that. I
yeah,
love that. Making a difference. I feel the same way in
right.
my work. It's like if it doesn't have some sort of community or making a difference or having an impact, it's really not that all that appealing to me.
Yeah.
That's important. It's just that's why I tell students you have to know what your values are. When they say, well, how do I communicate that? I'm like, go look them up and find out if it's a kind of company you'd want to work for. If they're saying all the things, nothing speaks to you, it's probably not going to be a good fit. You could probably pretend for a little while, but eventually it's not going to be a good fit. If they're going to know it and you're going to know it. But if there's something that's really drawing you to it, there's a reason. And I always say too, the companies want to hire people that are going to be a good fit and that are excited to be in that realm of work or
Yeah.
with that company or whatever. They can sense it. So if you're going to try to pretend, it's not going to work. I mean, maybe for a little bit, but that's what they're drawn to. So you have the skills already, but like, what do you really care about? You can't fake that. And companies really want that. Like who wouldn't, I always compare it to dating. I've been doing this a lot lately, comparing it to dating. Like who wouldn't want to work? Who wouldn't want to date someone that was really interested in them and what they knew and how they think and all of that? It's the same thing. You can't really resist that because you're like, wow, like it's flattering. So it's the same thing with the company. They want to be flattered and they want people there that care about what the work they're doing. It
Yeah.
makes a big difference.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think if they care about that work too and are really interested, but if they bring a different edge or a different interest that it could be combined somehow,
Yes.
that is super positive as well, because not only you're um helping in developing the projects and working on those, but you're bringing your own edge to that. So you're like have like this opportunity for growth too, not only for you but for the company, and you could actually build like your own. Try
Yeah.
to drive a little bit more other people into what your interests are.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a great point. You have something, every human being has something, the combination of traits and skills and all of values, everything is different than any other person on the planet. So you're going to bring something different to it. And I tell people that I mentor too, you're there because you have something to offer. They wouldn't have hired you if you didn't. And it's okay if you have a different opinion. If everyone had the same opinion, everything would always look the same and be the same,
No.
right? Yeah, they want the diversity and they want the different perspectives, and that's important to know. You have something to offer, and that's what makes it interesting.
It does, especially like in architecture for a team, right? Or for a project where you have so many people from many disciplines, different backgrounds, right? Architecture, engineer, mechanicals, electrical, civil, and people coming into doing one building or one project, whatever that might be, and having the different backgrounds from absolutely everybody, the different perspectives and things that you probably didn't think about from that perspective before, or like you've never used a building that you were doing this for, and somebody else has, and it's like, well, I've always had like this perspective, so I don't know. Like that's something that you start like thinking about too, like how other
Yeah.
people will use your space and where are they coming from in their backgrounds, and that's what makes like a project like super rich.
Yeah, I agree. It's so fascinating. So fascinating. Okay, so best advice, like what would you tell? Oh no, let's talk about that, what you wish you learned sooner. Like, is there anything with your education? So you're an immigrant, you came to this country, to study, and then you stayed here. Is there anything you would do differently or wish you'd known sooner with your education, your career?
um I think the only thing, I don't know if to know. I think I did a lot of research and a lot of things that I wanted to do and all that. So I don't know if related to like my study, there's something that I would do different. I think something that I would do is more on the kind of deadlines and the perception of those. That I will change a little bit of how I look into those. Like many things that we do is like we have to go to school, and then we have to finish school, and then after school we need a job, and then for us we need to go and get an NCAR record so we can actually take the test so we can be licensed, and all of these little steps that you have to do. And then when you apply to school, you have to go all through those, and then you're like, oh my god, I'm like over here and I need to like I so many years far away from like my goal.
Mm-hmm.
And just like thinking about that goal is like really good because you're always maintains you focus onto that, but trying to enjoy the little joys of like the little victories that you get through that until you get to the point that you think like you want it. At the point that you get there, you already have like another list of a million other things that you want to do and
Yes.
accomplish. So when you go through those and you're like, okay, now I'm here, and it's like, but I'm not here because I want to do so many other things. um I think that's one of the things that I will change, is that trying to enjoy more a little bit every single time that you get a little victory, or not even that, but trying to enjoy the process that you are in instead of thinking too much about like the future and like I still need to do this, I still need to do the other thing. More like it's gonna come. So be
Yeah.
positive and kind of like it's gonna come. I have a plan, and that's the thing that you need to know. And so, and if you have a plan, you just need to enjoy more all those times along
I
the way.
love that. I love that you said little joys, because that's what it is. It's like the little victories, the little things. Yeah, you dismiss them because you're like, okay, well, I'm not there yet. But you, like you said, you're going to get there, and then there's going to be another not there yet. There's always going to be another not there yet. So the key is to enjoy the process and live every day where you're enjoying the things that are happening and knowing that you have a plan. That doesn't mean you're just because you're enjoying something doesn't mean you don't have your eye on the ball anymore. You still have your eye on the ball. It's all about yeah, it's very important to be living in the present. It's like it's something that I wish I would have done sooner too, just like you. It's like I was always like, all right, go to school and then get the job. Now go to school again. Now get the other job. Now, get the promotion, get the raise, whatever. instead of just saying, all right, well, I love this. I'm just going to love this for now and then and move on to the next thing, or I have a goal in mind, but you don't only have to be focusing on that goal. In fact, that's really not the way to happiness anyways, because there's always going to be another one. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think for us, like for architects, our path is really long. So we have to go to school, and after school, we have to have so many hours of like work that we actually report, right? So we can actually start taking tests to get licensed. And when I started taking the test, there were 7 tests that you have to take. So you study for those like a really long time. So there's many things that you say no because you have to stay home and study. And combine that, like you do it when you're working, so it makes it a little bit more harder to do. And then always keeping in your mind like, oh, but I'm not licensed yet. I'm not licensed yet. That's something that all architects that are not licensed yet that we always think about. It's like I still have like this more step, right? Like I'm doing great at work. I love what I'm doing, all of the projects, but I still like there's this other step that I have not accomplished yet. And it could take years. So that really drags you down many, many times. So I know that. And that's what I'm saying. The little joys really help get along.
How many tests are there now? You said there were 7 when you started. Are there more tests now?
Now there's 6
There's
in
6.
Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They vary by state,
Okay.
but now there's 6 here.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would be your best piece of advice that you can offer college students, either that someone gave you or that you learned along the way, people that are looking for their first job or a great career?
I would say try to know what you want or what your interest is. Know what you want, but what are your interests? And try to find somebody that you know has that position or has worked on something similar, or it is some kind of position that you see him as kind of like, I want to be doing that, I want to do that later. Try to connect with somebody that can give you that mentorship and a little bit of advice on that path that you want to follow, because the best way is trying to connect to other people that have done it already, and try to see if the things that they've done will work for you, or maybe little pieces of those will work. And there's things that you can start accomplishing to get there. Not everything will work, but just the little things will work. The little pieces of advice that you can start like knitting into your life and into your path. And I think you will surprise of how many people are willing to talk to you and to give their story, and then just to help you in many ways and connect you to other people. Because at the end of the day, it's like a really big network. And that's what it does. It just helps by, well, I don't know, but I know somebody that does. So what about if I connect it to them and then they get to talk and somebody knows somebody else and somebody ends up with a job or something. Like it's always a little bit like that, but it is about trying to reach out to that. Try to like express like what you want and your interests are, and try to find somebody. There's always somebody that will give you an advice or a mentorship or will help you on something.
I agree. It's a great idea because also you're going to be more equipped to know if that's the path you want to take. So you think you know, and then you talk to someone, you're like, well, here's all the things that I learned, or here's all the things I do like or don't like. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'd never considered any of that. And this is a person who's doing that work 5 years later or 10 years later, and you get a little inside scoop before you actually have to go do the job. And then you can say, okay, I still want to do it. Or wait a minute, I hadn't thought about that. Like you said, they might know someone else that's doing something similar, but in a different industry. Oh, my friend's doing this instead. I never, oh, I didn't even realize that was a possibility. So it's such a good way of first of all, it's free, it's easy. And like you said, there's a lot of people out there willing to talk, even strangers that would be willing to have a conversation. I know most people that have been doing what they love for a long time, especially later in their career, are excited to give back and share what they know and their wisdom and give advice. And I tell students, just ask, and you don't have to be like, can you help me? It wouldn't sound like that. It would sound like, I'm really interested in doing something similar to what you're doing. I would love to hear how you figured it out. Or can I buy you a cup of coffee, or can we talk for half an hour? Like, just make it an invitation instead of just like, can you help me? It's like, they're not going to help random strangers that are just asking for one thing, right? But they would help you, just like back to dating. They would help you if you said, I'm really interested in learning more about how you figured it out. It sounds like you have a really cool career. I've been studying this for a long time. Who would say no to that? It's all about the way you say it, right?
And right now with a tool like LinkedIn, where you can
Yeah.
find everybody in LinkedIn and you can message them. Everybody is willing, and if somebody doesn't answer, maybe we'll do like the second, or maybe if that person is not because it's too busy, somebody else will, but you will find somebody there.
Yes.
And everybody is like really will carve 10, 15, half an hour time of
Yes.
their day to just do that, a little
Yeah.
conversation to inspire others to do things. Absolutely, yeah. A lot of
Yeah.
people.
I always tell students, start small, say 15 minutes, and they're probably going to talk to you longer than that. But it's easier to say yes to 15 minutes than a half an hour or whatever. And they're probably going to keep you on the phone, and that's fine. But you can just honor their time and say, our time's up. They're going to keep talking because they're going to be excited to talk to someone who wants to hear what they have to say. So it's an easy, right? It's an easy thing to do. And I don't think it's taken advantage of as much as it could be. So I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing besides that is organizations, or at least for us, for architects, we have the American Institute of Architects. So they are a really big organization throughout the states, and we have like a national and then state and then local in the city too. And their entire purpose is to put all of us together, all of the members, right? So all of the architects advocate for the profession too. So that is a really good way too. They have many programs for students, and just to get to connect them to mentors into other offices. So always trying to connect to those organizations. It's a great idea, and there's many out there. That's just like the biggest one, and
It's a great
that
idea.
it will have presence in any school too.
It's a great idea. I didn't think about doing that before you're actually in the job. I didn't think about doing that as a student. I'm gonna let students know it's a fabulous idea. Like, of course you can join, right? They want to share information and network with people. Like, that is a fabulous idea. I'm gonna start using it. Thank you for that.
And usually free for students, right? So
yeah,
exactly. Take the advantage.
Yeah, great idea. Well, it was so nice talking to you, Alzira, and learning from you and hearing about your journey. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting me to your podcast. This is my first one, so.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Exciting.
If people want to get in touch with you or stay connected, is LinkedIn the best way, or what do you recommend?
Yes, my name, LinkedIn, message me. I'm there.
All right.
Yeah. I'm not great at it. It takes time, but I always check.
Yeah, good. Thank you. And I just love that you're one more example of a graduate that's doing awesome work, that's happy, that's successful, that put in the effort and are showing people what's possible. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, Julie.
Yeah. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone. Check out the Illinois Tech Connect platform. It's the official networking site for Illinois Tech alumni. It's operated by Illinois Institute of Technology Alumni Association with help from Career Services. The aim of the platform is to connect our entire alumni community to provide a space for communication, networking, and other opportunities. Also, join the Illinois Tech Career Services group on LinkedIn and learn about all things career-related. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Finally, as an alum, whenever you need career guidance or advice, you're always welcome to connect to the Career Services Department, make an appointment with a career coach, and take advantage of this lifelong resource available to all alumni. We can't wait to help you, and more importantly, we can't wait to see what you do.